I've asked Randy to talk a little bit about his work and some of the outreach that we intend to be engaged in as well. So please welcome Randall Wenger.
Thank you for coming tonight. We are busy at the Independence Law Center. Just this past Monday, we filed a brief before the United States Supreme Court in a case dealing with an adult bookstore. And this issue is something that's deep on my heart. Well, you and I know there are problems with adult businesses, with sex businesses. We know that they're bad for families. We know that they're bad for marriages. We know that they're bad for communities, for crime, for the aesthetics, everything. But the courts, in their worldly wisdom, don't always see the obvious. And we filed a brief before the United States Supreme Court to try to help the court see that they need to be careful with the regulations on adult businesses. The Court of Appeals changed the rules so that it's much harder to regulate adult businesses. We want the court to be able to see that, yeah, you can regulate them, and you should regulate them. You should regulate them because there's a real problem that we have in our communities. I'm told that the Supreme Court may actually look at the issue this week or next week to determine whether they're going to grant cert. In other words, whether they're going to take this case. And if you could pray to that end, we would appreciate it. The week before, we filed another amici brief, this time before the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, in a case dealing with a mentally retarded man. He got pneumonia, and his guardians sought to take away his medical treatment because they reasoned, due to his mental retardation, that it was better for him to die. Very extreme. And yet they continued to make that argument even after they lost in the court, even after he got better due to his treatment. They're still seeking to be able to remove any kind of medical treatment should he get sick in the future because he's better off dead. And with the help of some brilliant law students over at Penn, we filed a brief before the Pennsylvania Supreme Court to help them to understand this issue as well, that we have a right to life, and that right to life does not end simply because we're dealing with some kind of infirmity. I'm hopeful that'll work out well. And just one other case I want to tell you about that got settled within the last 2 weeks dealt with a teenager who wore a shirt to school that said, "Abortion is not health care." Now, a child like that who's wearing a t-shirt of that sort, you should look at him and say, boy, that's insightful, and you're following current events. But the school administration said, that's an offensive t-shirt. So we brought suit, and he can now wear his t-shirt. They have changed their policies. And good things come sometimes by lawsuits against governmental agencies and schools because they make changes. I say all that because I want you to have hope. We can look at the world around us and we can think, boy, this is getting bad. We've got big government coming of the worst sort. We're losing our traditions. We're losing our freedoms. But God has brought our civilization back from the brink in the past. And we can look to him to do that again in the future. So as we're doing our work at the Pennsylvania Family Institute at the Independence Law Center, rest assured that we're doing so with a vision that God is at work, hopeful that we're really going to bring about a change. I want to tell you about one more endeavor that we're looking at, and this is not a Pennsylvania Family Institute or Independence Law Center endeavor, but we have another organization under our umbrella called the Pennsylvania Family Counsel. We are looking at getting involved in elections. Why? We have had problems over the last couple years in playing defense way too often in the legislature and not being able to push things forward that we think should be pushed forward, like the marriage amendment. We've heard from our sister states that we can improve our effectiveness exponentially if we may weigh in on even a few key elections, because it sends an important signal to the legislature that we are watching on important issues like marriage, like abortion, like gambling, like school choice. It can really motivate the rest of the legislature if we weigh in a few races. We are not asking for money for that tonight at this event, but we wanted to make you aware of what's happening there. We'd love to tell you more. Talk to me afterwards here tonight, or send me an email or give me a phone call. I would love to tell you about what we're looking at, because we need all the partners we can get for that new endeavor. Thank you very much.